credentials, and we go to browse credentials. We can look for AWS here. Sorry, Azure AZ certification fundamentals. So it's AI fundamental, which I will help us to start off today. Anyone else to start off with that? This is what most of you are still in. So you can actually do skill practice assessment, which is equally very, very good. And also, did I mention to you that Microsoft exam is now open book? Are you aware that Microsoft exam is open book? What that means is during the exam, you are permitted to visit MS Land and get answer. Of course, you won't get extra time. So if you know how to use these resources, this documentation resource can be helpful during exams. So let's just pick a few topics to talk about. This is a drag and drop question. So everybody's going to unmute and will contribute to this answer, right? Question 1 says, your company intends to subscribe to an Azure support plan. The support plan must allow for new support requests to be opened. Which of the following are support plans that will allow this? Answer by dragging the correct options from the list to the answer area. So these are the options. You're supposed to put it here. So they said your company intends to have a support plan, and the support plan must allow the new support requests to be opened. Is it the basic? Is it the developer? Is it the standard? Is it the professional or the premier? So in what order, which will be the answer? Remember that it's likely to be more than one, right? Basic, of course, you can't. There will be limits to the support that you have with a basic plan. Developer is normally personal account also. But you see standard, professional, direct, and premier usually will have support plans. So if I will rank them, I will rank these first. What's happening? Doesn't seem to be allowing them. I don't need to pay. By buying contributor. Okay. Okay, seems I can't be until I pay. I cannot access. I cannot move it around. Right. But premier, professional direct. Now, there are some support plans that also enjoy credit, from Microsoft. So let's reveal the answer. Developer, standard, professional direct, and premier. Basic is off the support plan. So, but in order of priority, this will go first. Then usually professional direct and developer are usually at the same level. Then standard. If we want any further details about it, you can come here and find out. Now, one of the things that Microsoft does is to encourage people from to use their platform. So in terms of cost, they've also tried to make the cost a bit cheaper. So for developer can be a single individual or a group of users. Standard is higher than a developer, and then a professional direct, maybe a small business or a startup can use this, right? And the premier ones, they're usually on a separate plan. Normally, it can be based on contract for the premier support. That's the enterprise support. All of these are the premier is under enterprise support. Okay. Your company has data center in Los Angeles and New York. The company has Microsoft Azure subscription. You are configuring the two data centers as geo-cluster sites for site resiliency. You need to recommend an Azure storage redundancy option. Now, if you hear redundancy, it means that you have a backup on another site. There is your active sites in one location, let's say Los Angeles, and then your redundancy will be in New York. Now, first thing to find out is, how many, is there an Azure region here, and is there an Azure region here? So those are questions to ask yourself as you are going through this. Just for your information, I've not gone through this question before, so we're just going through it live right now. You need to recommend an Azure storage redundancy option. You have the following data storage requirements. 1, data must be stored on multiple nodes. A node is a server point. So normally when it comes to Azure data storage, you have to think of redundancy normally. And redundancy means that if one node fails, the other node will automatically take over. And usually you configure what we call primary and secondary nodes. One node will be the primary node, while the backup node will be the secondary node. And there will also be a replica. The data on the primary will be replicated in real time to the data in the secondary. The second requirement is that the data must be stored on nodes in separate geographical location. That was what I mentioned earlier. Los Angeles is in US West, I think, and New York is in US East, right? So obviously they are in two regions. In fact, these two locations are on two separate time zones in the US. They are on two separate time zones in the US. Data can be read from the secondary location as well as from the primary. That is the replication I mentioned earlier. So which of the following Azure stored redundancy option should you recommend? Who is willing to give it a try? Any brave one amongst us? Olayemi? Can you try?
I think C.
C, zone redundancy. Why did you say zone?
Yeah, like option A, B. Option A, B has geo redundant storage, and I'm thinking that Los Angeles and New York should be the same geo zone, even though they are not in the same location. So I'm thinking zone redundant.
Okay.
Because-
I don't think it's correct because
Okay.
if you remember, zone is under region. If you remember the first set of classes we took, where I said region is how the infrastructure, the core infrastructure of Azure are spread, right? And each zone can, if you want to do redundancy, one region can have up to 3 zones, right? Right. But you see, in this case, let's go to Azure regions. Region and availability zones. Where is it? The location. So, because there is US East, there is US West as a region in Azure. System. System what I want. There's a list of what are regions and availability. There's a list of regions. What is it? Choose the right region for Microsoft. So if you look at this question again, it's saying that the requirement is what you need to look at primarily. Your data must be stored on multiple nodes. Multiple nodes means region A and region B, right? And then your data must be stored on nodes in separate geographical locations, right? And then your data can be read from secondary locations as well as from primary. So I would first go for A. I would have thought read only geo redundancy is close, but because they say read only, remember that when you are dealing with data, there must be storage. You have to write into the data and as well as read from it, right? So storing data is writing into it. So you can't, if you say read only, that means people cannot write into that data, into that data storage. You understand? Then, you what? Really? Okay, I'm in a class now. When I finish, I'll give you hot chocolate. Just hold on. Sorry about that. I have a 3.5-year-old here who would like to make demand. So yeah. What was I saying? Now, read only so you can't write, you need to write to the storage. And then also another thing I wanted to mention, in Azure, your storage account is globally unique. If you are to create a storage account in Azure, I think I've mentioned that before. It's the name of your storage account is globally unique to you. So if we come here, we go to the US. United States. So you see what I'm saying here? East US. In fact, we have 2 regions in East US. There's East US and then East US 2, right? One is in Virginia. The second one is also in Virginia. And then you have, so remember that Virginia is close to New York. Then you have, if I scroll to the side, you also have the West US, that's California. So if we are to pick our answers, I will go for A, except if somebody has any other answer apart from A. Does anybody differ? So let's reveal our question. Most voted is B. Why? Okay, let's look at it. RAGRS allows you to have higher read availability for your storage account by providing read-only access to data replicated to the secondary location. Once you enable this feature, the secondary location may be used to achieve higher availability in event data is not available in the primary region. This is an opt-in feature which requires the storage account to be geo-replicated. Reference is key. Okay, so I was wrong, but I think we're close. But you understand what I mean by the geo redundancy, right? It's a question of whether the secondary location is going to be read only. You can, if it's like what there's what we call active. Remember that it's an opt-in. You can choose to opt out of read only, right? It's an opt-in feature. I don't think. I just want to verify that information. Sometimes when you read, okay, let's look at this. Azure storage redundancy. Azure storage always stores multiple copies of your data, so it's protected from planned and unplanned events. And then, is it redundancy in the primary region? Yeah. It's always replicated 3 times in the primary region. It has 2 options. The LRS and the ZRS, that's the zone redundancy. LRS copies your data synchronously 3 times within the same physical location in the primary region. This is usually least expensive, but it isn't recommended for applications requiring high availability or durability. The zone redundancy is more expensive in the primary region. For applications requiring high availability, Microsoft recommends using ZRS in the primary region and replicating to the secondary. Yeah, this is the question. Yeah. All right, LRS is the lowest redundancy option and offers the least durability compared to other options. LRS protects your data against server rack and drive failures. However, disasters such as fire or flooding occurs within the data center. All replicas of your storage using LRS may be lost or recoverable. To mitigate, you are advised to go for either zone or geo. Now, of course, these should be more expensive than these. And then you now also have the geo zone redundancy. I think they just released this recently. A write request to a storage account that is using LRS happens synchronously. Synchronously means in one direction, right? Asynchronous means in 2 directions. As it's going forward, it's coming backward, right? The write operation returns successfully only after the data is written to all 3 replicas. So, I want to pick up on the geo redundancy in secondary region. For applications requiring higher durability, you can choose to additionally copy the data in your storage account to a secondary region that is hundreds of miles away from your primary. If your storage account is copied to a secondary region, then your data is durable, even in the case of complete regional outage or disaster. So when you create a storage account, you select the primary region for the account. The paired secondary region is determined based on the primary region and can't be changed. So what they're trying to say here, if I log into my portal, let me quickly get the code to log in here. Just trying to, my system seems to be just slow right now. All right. So let's assume that we're trying to create a storage account. I come here and I select storage account. Now, just for your information, storage account is different from the hard disk storage of a compute device. Storage account is a completely different resource. It's used for managing data of all forms, file data, whatever. But I also wanted you to know that it's globally unique. So whatever name you are trying to select for your storage account is globally unique. So if usually when you select a name, you cannot use that name again, even if you delete that resource. Right. So just to go to where we're talking about, this is a subscription resource group. This is the name I'm talking about. If you click here, it tells you the name must be unique across all existing storage account names in Azure. Right. So this is what they're talking about: standard or premium, recommended for most scenarios. Now, geo redundancy this is where you make your choice of whether you want a locally redundant storage or a geo redundant storage or a zone redundant storage or geo zone redundant storage. Geo redundancy means you have a primary storage in your primary region. Now, just to also let us know, the backups, Azure will handle that backup for you automatically, right? Depending on what you select here. It's not like you're going to handle the backup yourself, So, but this is the least expensive, followed by this one. This is more expensive, and then the one that is higher here. So if you are going to deploy an application that is critical, a very critical application, you don't want any downtime whatsoever, you go for this option or this option. Right. I won't go ahead to create it because it's expensive to maintain storage account. But this basically is what this explanation is talking about. This one. Right. So, okay. So the answer here is B. The reason why read only is because the replicated part will be secondary, but it's something you can opt out for if you want to do. Some organizations deploy what we call active-active. Active-active is a situation where your secondary is as equally active as your primary site. In that case, you cannot afford to do a read only, right? It has to be traffic can go to either primary or secondary, so all right. But there is a vote also to this. Some people have, went for A, some went for B. So, okay, question 3. The question is included in a number of questions that depict the identical setup. However, every question has distinct result. Establish if the solution satisfies the requirement. Your company's Azure subscription includes a basic support plan. They would like to request an assessment of an Azure environment design from Microsoft. This is, however, not supported by the existing plan. You want to make sure that the company subscribes to a support plan that allows this functionality while keeping expenses to a minimum solution. You recommend that the company subscribes to professional direct support plan. Does this solution meet the goal? I think I opened information about this, so let's go here. I can't really say if it meets the goal. For them to, the condition they want here is for the company to have, they would like to request an assessment of an Azure environment design from Microsoft. So they want Microsoft, they've designed their Azure environment, and so they want Microsoft to assess that design for them. If you ask me, that is like a premium support, right? But let us confirm, because it means that they are asking Microsoft. So let's see, 1,000. Well, if somebody is paying 1,000 per month, I think the person will require quite a lot. Let's see. Includes Microsoft Learn, ability to submit as many support requests as needed, your free personalized guide to Azure best practices, third-party software, access to technical support by email and phone after support requests, severity and response, severity C, severity B, moderate business. So it's only, okay, the professional direct seems to have a lot of package. Architecture support, that is it. Guidance from a pool of, so I think it's correct. This is it. This is what we're looking for, architecture support. This question is around architecture, Azure environment design. So the question is, does it meet it? I think it does meet it. So it's yes. Oh, most voted is yes. Yeah. This question and answer is funny. Most voted yes, no. They say the correct answer is B. It doesn't meet it. Let me see. Azure support, Pro Direct Delivery Managers. It didn't talk about.
I think the issue is that they were on basic. They were on basic.
They were on basic.
And they are now requesting for something that is not within basic. And they don't want to pay.
The person,
it should be no.
They are asked, and they don't want to pay. Establish if the solution. No, so you want to make sure that the company subscribes to a support plan that allows this functionality. So your solution,
keeping expenses to a minimum. Why keeping expenses to a minimum? They don't want to pay.
Or you have recommended professional direct support, right? So, which is 1,000 a month. This one. They don't want to pay. But the question is, what you have recommended doesn't meet it, right? In Azure, there is a service that Microsoft provides that I know of. For example, there are engineers, top-level engineers called Cloud Architect. They call them Azure Cloud Architect, ACE. They embed them into their customer teams so that those ones will provide them advice and guidance when they are deploying, right? But frankly, any business that is paying $1,000 a month, well, in the last company I worked, right, our monthly bill was like $38,000 a month. £38,000. So 1,000 a month is actually small. So, but this statement here, guidance from pro direct delivery managers, create and manage. He didn't talk about engineers. The only Azure expert here. Ask the technical support by email after your support request is submitted. 7. I will still go for A, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Sometimes some of these questions can be tricky. What's the discussion around this? So, this is a long time. No, professional direct offers service reduced, but not at the minimum cost. Yeah, because if you look at this, the highest here is professional direct actually. Right. Well, I know there is enterprise premium. Let's leave it at that. Please give me a second. This boy is I need to give him something to just calm him down. Give me a second. I'll be back shortly. Apologies, I'm so sorry. Children, if you don't give them what they want, they keep troubling. Yeah, so let's go on now. I just want to add that there's another material that you can use, measure up. It's a paid one because frankly, some of these answers here, I cannot vouch for them. I know this is more of a free resource or not as expensive, but this one, you pay a little more for. If you are interested in taking other certification, you can go for the bundle package. Just buy for a month or two, and do your practice. I think I also mentioned that Azure themselves have Microsoft. They have their own practice assessment. Which one was it? Practice assessment. So for this one, measure up. Take the free practice. Mm-hmm. This is not the profile for my MS Layer. The profile for my MS Layer is not this one. I use a separate profile for the MS Layer. So it's good to create just one profile for your study or skill acquisition on this Microsoft Learn. It will help to monitor and track your progress, and you also get points as you cover knowledge, within the platform. You'll notice that if you did any of the challenge that I shared before in the group, you'll notice that each of the challenge comes with a number of points that you accrue, and frankly, those things matter. It matters. Yeah. So this is the question. Okay, maybe we should do this. Right. This is Microsoft question, fundamental. So let's do this. What are two basic services provided by all cloud providers? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. I would like everybody to unmute and give me an answer. If you know the answer, unmute. Let's discuss it before we check answer. I think I'll prefer it that way. For anyone who, and remember, you don't have to be right because it's an exam. Exam, they say, it's not a true test of knowledge, right? So the question is, what are two basic services provided by all cloud providers? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Two services: application development, co-location, compute, and storage. What is the answer here?
So I'll go with application development and storage.
Okay. Application development and storage. Why did you choose application development?
That's the basis for a cloud provider. At least you need to have a developed application.
Okay.
And storage Storage. There must be storage for all
Mhm.
your
For
devices. So
all
that one
your
is given.
devices and application. Yeah.
Yes.
So you are partly correct. Now, application development is something for a software company, right? Or an
Okay.
individual to carry out. Remember that I just want to say something. Anytime you see a question, right, always watch out for keywords. There are
Okay.
keywords that would give you, like, help you to understand where the answer might be heading. And that keyword
Okay.
is this. It says
Cloud.
all cloud providers, right? So cloud providers have something in common, whether it is
Okay.
Microsoft, Oracle, they can call it different names. And that thing that is common is actually compute and storage. You
Okay.
understand? Yeah.
Okay.
So application development, a software company can develop application. They can decide to develop it on premises. On-prem means in their own data center. You can decide to
Okay.
develop your own application on your laptop. You don't really need the cloud, right? But if you want to deploy anything in the cloud, you need a compute instance and you need a storage instance, which is storage is part of what we're talking about in terms of data redundancy, right? So, but we can still check our answer to be sure. So that's it. Compute and storage, right? Frankly, if you do this Microsoft own assessment, you'll be ready for the exam. This one here is a bit confusing, but do add this to your practice sessions also. But I would advise you go for if you want to pay, you go for the measure of. Sometimes they do promo. They were doing promo, right? I think it's usually 22, not too expensive, really. And I could also advise you guys can come together, contribute money, use one account, and share the access. That's another way of thinking. You understand? So let's
Okay.
go together and see. Next question says, what are two characteristics of the public cloud deployment model? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. So public cloud deployment model, remember I talked about public cloud and private cloud during the introduction to this class. Public cloud is the one that you, me, anybody have access to. But we also have
Okay.
private cloud that is accessible to only a set of government agencies or companies, depending, because of how sensitive their data is. For example, the Azure cloud has a private cloud that is available just to US government. They also have a cloud, they call it I've forgotten the name they call it. They also have a cloud service for the UK government. Only the UK government uses that cloud service. Then Chinese government also have a private cloud that they provided. So, but in this case, the public cloud deployment. So, say what are the characteristics of it? First, computing resource. Does anybody want to give it a go? Anybody? Yeah, come on. Sunday, give it a go. Go on. Just choose one. Are you there? Okay. I guess some people are busy at work or something. So let's go on. Computing resources are used exclusively by users from one organization. I don't think this is correct. This looks more like a private situation. Hardware is physically located in an organization's on-site data center. No. So remember they said two characteristics. So I've knocked out two. So obviously this should be the last. Servers and storage are owned and operated by third-party cloud service provider, right? These services are offered over the internet and are available to anyone who wants to purchase them. Yep. So these two are correct. Can you
Okay.
see me? Mhm.
Mm.
So let's go to the next. What are two characteristics of a consumption-based model? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Consumption-based, pay as you go. So
Okay.
is it a high capital expenditure, consumption based? Is there
No.
it says there is no upfront costs. There's no upfront cost because it's just based on what you have consumed, right? So let's hold this. Requires the purchase and management of the physical infrastructure. No.
No.
No. The ability to stop paying for resources that are no longer in use. So I will select this.
Yes.
Yes.
And then I will also
Okay.
select this, right?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So let's check the answer. Correct. So we're correct now, right?
Okay.
Right. So let's do next. The next one says, which two characteristics are common advantages of cloud computing? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Advantages of cloud computing. Elimination of horizontal scaling. Horizontal scaling is a situation where when your workload becomes bigger, you add more
storage.
More storage. Thank you. Thank you. More storage. But vertical scaling, when your compute your your workload gets larger, you add more systems, more compute. That's vertical, right? So, what are the two characteristics? Which two are common advantages of cloud computing? It eliminates horizontal scaling. Does it? Geo distribution. Yes.
That's correct.
That first one should be correct.
No.
Why do you think? But what is horizontal scaling again? Is it
You won't
more
be
storage?
needing more physical storage since you'll be using cloud computing.
You might need it. You might need it. You can run out of your. You can run out of, because when you are creating your resource, right? You don't have endless storage. You have to define the storage you want at that time.
Yeah, depends on time. Yeah.
You understand? So, but when your storage is getting is like for the storage account, for the storage account, I don't want to start creating for the storage account.
Elimination.
Yeah, there is a limit to the storage that you have access to at the time of creation of the resource. Remember, we talked about locally redundant, zone redundancy, and geo redundancy.
That's true.
Right?
No,
So I don't think it completely eliminates. For example, a compute instance where you have to attach a storage drive. Your storage drive can either be an 8 gig, 32 gig, 64 gig, or 124 gig, right? So it doesn't completely eliminate this. But geo distribution is what it provides.
Sorry, sir, but the statement says a common advantage.
Okay, let's do one way of answering question is to do elimination principle and method. So let's eliminate. If we can't eliminate, then we adopt that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Right? Do we have? But you agree with geo distribution? Do you?
That's correct.
Do you agree with
yes,
I agree with geo distribution and high availability.
High availability.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I also agree with it. Anybody differ with these two?
No.
I think Olayemi wants this. Right? Of course, you don't have access to physical service. You cannot visit. So, but let's check. So we are correct. Okay. But this contemplation is part of learning. It just shows that you understand the underlying principle, right? Which I'm very happy about. So let's go.
So can you explain this high availability?
High availability
for cloud computing.
Have you ever typed www.google.com and it doesn't come up?
No. Okay.
That's
Okay.
high availability. Except if it has come to an end, isn't it? That's when Google.com will not work. Even when you hear in the news, Google servers were down today, some users could not access. You might just ask, but I was able to use Google. That's high availability, right? So, why is cloud computing often less expensive than on-premises data center? Who will give it a go?
It's good.
Just one question in this case, it's not two, so it's more difficult. Cloud service offerings have limited functionality. That's not true. Network bandwidth is free.
Not true.
What do they mean by this? Now, is it often less expensive than on-premises data center? Now, for on-premises data center, what do you normally need? What is usually your cost? I think I explained it in one of the earlier sessions I had. What is usually your cost? One of the costs you have to really think about.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. So when we're talking about infrastructure, what exactly do we mean? Your network infrastructure, right?
Okay.
Your server infrastructure. Remember, when we were talking about network infrastructure, bandwidth is a major factor. For some of you who have worked in First Bank, you remember when you were using VSAT, you couldn't use Finacle 7, isn't it? Or you couldn't use, there was no way Finacle 7 or Finacle 10 can work on VSAT. Every branch had to be upgraded to fiber, that is bigger network. So, and those are limitations of on-prem deployment. But in the cloud, network bandwidth, you know, it's somewhat free. Just your internet that determines, even though your internet too, the bandwidth of your internet will not determine how you enjoy the use of it. But this is free. I would choose this first. I would, I like to do elimination system when I'm answering questions, right? That's why I'm trying to go for this. So let's go for the next one. Services are only offered in a single geographical location. Is that true?
No.
That's not true. You are only billed for what you use.
How we choose this? How we choose this?
Yes.
You are only billed for what you use.
I will choose this.
Yep. It's close
Yes.
between this and this. Which one is more?
The last one.
The last one. Okay, so there is a scenario. Remember, I also mentioned that for some clients, there is what is called pre-arranged contract, where they pay ahead. They pay lump sum of money to the cloud provider, maybe per annum, right? But even with that case, they will have to reconcile accounts based on what has been used, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this is the answer. But why is network bandwidth not the answer? Network bandwidth is free.
You just said it.
Not free. It's not free.
It's not free. You just said it. Even though it's £1 you are spending, it's not free.
Not free. Even though you have access to it, somebody is paying for bandwidth. The cloud provider is paying for bandwidth. You understand?
And I think you said something like, if you want it to be very fast and all that, you need to subscribe more, you need to pay more. So,
oh yeah, like for example, if you want your
internet to be fast.
No, not your internet. Is it your compute now?
Your compute.
Your compute, yes. You need to buy more RAM and
you need to buy more RAM. Yes.
So let's check. Yeah, we're correct. Yeah. So let's go to the next. Select the answer that correctly completes the sentence. Increasing compute capacity for an app by adding RAM or CPU to a virtual machine is called what? Somebody should give us answer. Olayemi, I think you would know answer to this.
I'm thinking.
Sorry?
I said I'm thinking. and you know that, I don't know if it's just me. You know, this lettering seems small because before, sometimes it's when you read it out that.
Is it better now?
Yes, better now.
It's better now. Sorry about that.
Compute capacity.
All right. Vertical scaling, horizontal scaling. It's either of the two.
This should be vertical.
It's vertical. Remember you talked about storage before?
Yes, for horizontal.
Which was horizontal. But in this case, it's RAM and CPU. All right, so that's vertical. Correct. I think it's getting exciting, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Select the answer that correctly completes the sentence. An example of is automatically scaling an application to ensure that the application has the resource needed to meet customer need. An example of dash is automatically scaling an application. Remember auto scaling. Auto scaling is when, as the demand of the users or as your user demand grows, your resources also grows automatically. That's auto scaling. So what are we going to say here? To ensure that the application has the resource needed to meet, is it agility? Is it elasticity? Is it geo distribution? Is it high availability?
Is elasticity. We don't have a word like scalable here. It would have been the right word.
Elasticity is a term in physics, but I'm not sure it applies here. Elastic.
Because agility has to do more with
I
flexibility.
would want to go for high availability.
Yes, high availability.
Because it's about scaling. Remember I said google.com, right? So Google were the first company. Have you heard of Kubernetes? Kubernetes, remember I talked about virtualization, how you on a computer you can have several servers on just one hardware computer. Now there is also a technology we call containerization. I think I've explained that too, where instead of having a virtual machine, for containers, they only share the operating system of the system. Each of them do not have, unlike virtual machine, where each of the virtual machine will have their own individual operating system, and they will have to share in the entire memory of the hardware. For containers, the orchestration is at the level of the OS, but also to manage containers now, you now bring in an orchestration manager, and that's what is called Kubernetes. Kubernetes is an orchestration manager. So Google were the ones who pioneered that technology. And what they did was their search engine were deployed on containers. And a container can just be deployed with a script, right? So that it's always just available. There's no way. And in fact, the Kubernetes infrastructure encourages self-healing. Self-healing means the Kubernetes manager will always evaluate each node of containers connected to it. If there is anyone that is failing, it will automatically redirect traffic to the ones that are not overloaded. And so that the one that is failing will heal. There is what is called healing process. Some of these concepts can be very funny. So I would go for high availability, frankly. Now, I could be wrong. It could be this or this, actually. But let's check. Oh!
Is elasticity.
It's elasticity. Okay, so let's see. Elasticity refers to the ability to scale resources as needed, such as during business hours, to ensure an application can keep up with demand. Yeah, and then reducing the available resource during off. Okay. Agility refers to.
Did they put scalability because they've used it in that sentence?
Yes. So they've used it here. Where? Here. Okay, here. Yeah, they've used it here. So, but high availability refers to the ability to ensure that the service remains available in the event of failure. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so thank you, Olayemi, for that input. Very much appreciated. It shows that you have done your homework. I appreciate that.
I only got to know that idea from one business analysis thing. It's a non-functional requirement.
Oh, nice. Very good. So let's go to the next. Number 9 question. Select the answer that correctly completes the sentence. In cloud computing, Dash allows you to deploy applications to regional data centers around the world. Okay. So this is another confusing, the same question, the same answers of the previous question, twisted in a different way now, just to test our knowledge. So in cloud computing, Dash allows you to deploy applications to regional data centers around the world. Disaster recovery, geolocation, elasticity, high availability. What's the answer here?
Geolocation.
I think so too.
I also think so.
Does anybody differ? All right, correct. So you can deploy apps and data to regional blah, blah, blah across the world.
Okay.
In which cloud service model is the customer responsible for managing the operating system? Who knows this? IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service.
Still be platform.
Do I explain it?
Yes, sir.
Sir, if I'm
Go on, please.
wrong, please tell me. The software as a service should be by the vendor.
Yeah. So okay, let me give you an example of each, then you tell me which one.
Okay.
Is right. So infrastructure as a service is a situation where you are using the cloud, or you have created your own virtual machine in the cloud, and you have chosen to install an operating system on that virtual machine. You created the admin password, you are logging in. It is just like you're using your system locally. That's infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service is a situation where you want to deploy an application. You need server to deploy the application. However, you need server, you need framework. When I say framework, I'm saying that underlining services and software that your application requires to run. So that is platform as a service. For example, you want to deploy your code, your Python code or your JavaScript code in the cloud. You need to have an NPM server set up in the cloud. You need to have, all the framework that JavaScript code needs to run. But the cloud provider has provided that. So that's platform as a service, right? Software as a service, an example of software as a service, your Microsoft 365 or Google Doc. Google Doc helps you to use Word documents in the cloud. That's software as a service. So based on the descriptions, which one is the answer?
I think I would say software as a service.
Sorry, infrastructure. Teach? Is it not
software as a service?
No, it's not software. Because you are responsible for managing the operating system. So it's actually
infrastructure.
Yes, it's this one. It's this one. All right. All right, let's go to the next. Question 11. What is the customer responsible for in a software as a service model? Right? Data and access, storage, runtime, virtual machine.
Data and access.
Does everybody agree? Yeah, it's data. And all you need is your data and an access, your internet access. That's all you need. Remember I talked about Google Doc. Your data, whatever you type in there is your data. And then access, do you have access to it? So number one. Remember, the runtime is the one for apps that I described, storage, storage accounts. Virtual machine is compute. Next. Which cloud service model is used by Microsoft? This is a giveaway, isn't it?
SaaS.
It's a SaaS.
SaaS, okay.
I think I give an example of that, not knowing it's
yes, you give examples. I'm doubled up here.
Yes. What uses the infrastructure as a service model? This is PaaS. This is PaaS. This is IaaS. This is SaaS.
So
Do I go over it again?
yeah. So
Yes.
C,
This is PaaS.
virtual machine.
This is PaaS. This is IaaS. This is SaaS. So
Virtual
IaaS,
machine.
virtual machine. Yeah. Which type of cloud service are virtual networks? Who can guess here? Remember I talked about LAN 1 when I was introducing this class, where your LAN is your switch, your physical switch that you connect, within an office, right? That's your LAN. And I said the virtual network is similar to your LAN, right? Because that is the basic network that you have to configure for your VMs to work, right? So in that case, it's just trying to confuse me a bit. Yeah, it's infrastructure as a service. It's infrastructure as a service because you have to define your IP address. You have to manage it also yourself. Well, let's check. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, so it helps you minimize the physical server and data center. Next, select the answer that correctly completes the sentence. In a region pair, a region is paired with another region in the same where?
Let's see.
Who knows this answer? Like in UK, we have UK South, UK West.
In the same geography.
Geography, yes.
Okay.
Which two components are created in Azure subscription? Microsoft Entra user accounts, management groups, resource groups, resources.
Okay. Management group and resource group.
Two components.
Wrong. Okay. Resource groups and resource.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't think. This is the top. This is the highest level of
The main one. Okay.
governance in Azure. This is the subscription is under this. So they've already said in an Azure subscription. Did you understand? So sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Should be resource group and
It
resource.
should be yes, because they've already mentioned this is the highest level. I talked about governance in Azure, right? You start from resource group, and then you come down to subscription level. And whatever policy you apply at the resource group level will trickle down to the subscription level. But if you apply a policy at the subscription level, it will not apply at the management group level. Right? So if you just have access to a subscription, you do not have access to a management group level. Whatever you do at the subscription level stays at the subscription level. It will not apply at the management group level. And you can have more than one subscription under the management group level, right? So let's do next. What is an Azure storage account named storage 001 an example of? This is straightforward, I think. Is it a resource? Is it a resource group? Is it a resource manager? Is it a subscription?
Resource.
Yes, a resource. For which resource does Azure generate separate billing reports and invoices by default? Who would know? Okay, let me just help us. It's subscription because if I have subscription in dev, in learning, in, for example, I have subscription, dev, learning. The more I create, see, this is one subscription. The number of resources I create on each of these can differ. And so my invoice for them can be different. Right? So it's subscription. This is how organizations usually track their expenditure. You have a production subscription. If your dev subscription is racking on more money than your production subscription, as an accountant, what do you do? Or an auditor, you have to query them because the production is what brings money, right? It's where people play around with stuff, they build things, they turn it off, or trash things are there. But the governance must be such that your dev subscription cost should not outweigh that of the production. Right. So I'm talking now in relation to business analysts. For any of you who are thinking of business analysis, this is how to think around cloud solutions. Right. Next. Which resources can you use to manage access, policies, and compliance across multiple subscriptions? Access, compliance, management groups. Next. Which Azure Compute Service can you use to deploy and manage a set of identical virtual machines? Availability set. So availability set is when you are creating your virtual machine, there is a checklist to say I want it to be an availability set. Means that it will always be available. If that compute goes down, the mirror will always be there. Right? So you see it. Oh, where is it now? Availability zone. This is it. Automatically distribute your VM across multiple fault domains. So that is what that refers to. So it's availability sets. Machine scale sets. Availability option. Oh, I didn't get that correct.
So?
It's machine skill sets that you can use to deploy and manage and scale a set of identical. Okay. I didn't get that correct. So. Okay, now we know. This is across 4 domains. This is when you're deploying identical ones. Okay, please take note of these differences in case you see it in the exam. What can you use to execute code in serverless environments? Anybody know? So let me just show you what that is saying. If I go to create resource, function is what you use to deploy code in Azure. Function app. So if I want to deploy a function app or I want to host my code online, this is the resource I will use, function app. And then the runtime is part of what I mentioned earlier in terms of PaaS solution. If I want to deploy .NET, .NET is Microsoft solution, .NET framework. Node.js is a different framework. Python is a different framework. Java is a different framework. It can also be custom or PowerShell code. So, and then the version of the runtime is what you select here, the operating system. So, in this case, it is Azure Function. Which scenario is a use case for VPN gateway? Communicating between Azure resources, connecting an on-prem data center to an Azure virtual network, filtering outbound network traffic, partitioning a network address space. Does anybody know?
Wait, could it be B?
Yes, it's B. Because, for example, if there is a resource in Azure in a virtual machine and I want to access the resources from my own local machine in my own house, my house now is the on-premises, I need a VPN gateway. I need to create a VPN. Normally, when you come here, like if you are in any organization that uses it, you will see VPN setting. If you open it here, if I have a VPN certificate on my system, or I need to add it to ask me for connection name, it is the VPN gateway that will generate a certificate from the gateway, which you install in a local client on premises, and then that local client, like my own laptop now, can connect to the virtual network. So B is the correct answer. It's a type of virtual network gateway are deployed to a dedicated subnet of a virtual network. You can use them to connect on-premises data center to virtual networks through site-to-site VPN connection. Next. You need to allow resources on two different Azure virtual networks to communicate with each other. I have one network here, VNet here. I have another VNet. In order for them to connect, I need to create... Sorry, you need to allow resources on two different virtual networks to communicate. What should you configure? NSG, point to site VPN, peering, service endpoints. Who knows the answer, please? Who can try?
They're on two virtual networks, two different.
Yes. Two virtual networks in the cloud, right? One is here. They are all in the same subscription. But let's say one is for HR department, the other one is for technical department.
Maybe it's pairing then.
It's pairing. Excellent. That's the answer, pairing. So you can link virtual network together by using virtual network pairing. Pairing enables resources in each virtual network to communicate with each other. Next. What can you use to provide Mac and Android user with access to a Windows environment that will run Windows-based applications? Who knows, please? This is the answer. Azure Virtual
Desktop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
used in gaming.
It's used in gaming. Okay. Yeah, that's it. The desktop application that virtualizes, a Windows environment that is hosted in the cloud. AVD is different from virtual machine. Remember that AVD is PaaS. It's a PaaS solution. It's a PaaS solution, not IaaS solution, because you are not managing the operating system yourself. Microsoft is managing the operating system. Your own is to just have access to the URL of the AVD and you connect with your browser. Which Azure storage service should you use to store unstructured files such as images that will be served on web pages? I think it's blob storage. That's blob. So unstructured data, this is the word I found, I picked here. Just always link unstructured data files to blob storage.
What if it is structured?
If it is structured, it has to be in a table format. That will be, you need a database now.
Okay.
You need a database to manage it, and it to be either here. If you are using NoSQL, that's MongoDB, you set up queue storage. But normal basic SQL server, you have to use a table storage. right, next. What can you use to ensure that a user can only access application from compliant devices? Conditional access, hybrid identity, multi-factor authentication, single sign-on. What can you use to
Conditional.
ensure conditional access? That means the device must be compliant to access your resource.
We use elimination to remove all these other ones.
Yeah. Next. What can you use to allow a user to manage all the resources in a resource group?
To allow a user to manage all the resources in a resource group.
What?
Okay, this should be role-based access control.
Excellent. So let me come here now. Do I have any resource here? Okay, I think I have a speech resource here. Let me show you. So under I am controls, access control,
Identity access
identity, and yeah, you can define who can do what with this resource from roles, right? These are the name. They are all built-in roles, but you can create custom roles also.
persona.
You can create custom roles and then attach that custom role to a user role assignment. You assign it. For example, Raphael Ajani is the owner of the subscription, so I have overall access. And if you check my access, you can view my access here. It will tell me I'm the owner, and it was inherited from the subscription level. Are you seeing it now? So because I am the owner of the subscription, I automatically own this speech resource. But assuming that there is another user within this subscription and I want to give access to that user, I can assign this user or deny it, as the case may be. Right? So it's RBAC. Check. Okay. Next. Which type of strategy uses a series of mechanisms to slow the advancement of an attack that aims to gain unauthorized access to data? For those interested in cyber, we're already going to cybersecurity now. Which type of strategy uses a series of mechanisms to slow the advancement of an attack that aims to gain unauthorized access to data? Defense in depth, distributed denial of service, least privileged access, perimeter. Can anybody attempt?
I don't know this one.
Okay, I think I explained it in like 2 or 3 classes before now. Defense in depth is the answer, and this is defense in depth. Assuming that you want to enter the White House, God forbid that terrorists want to attack Joe Biden, right? From the gate, they will meet first resistance. When they cross from the gate, between the gate and the lawn, another resistance. When they get to the lobby, they will meet another resistance there. When they get beyond the lobby into maybe the press room area, they will meet another resistance there. The Secret Service agents will be there, at different levels of access. And then the final place where the president will be in a safe room locker somewhere that is safe from even nuclear bomb, right? So that is what we call defense in depth. If you look at a keyword, to slow the advancement of an attack. So if an organization is under attack, the first layer of security might be breached, but it doesn't mean that they've gotten to the second layer of security. Is it clear now? So this is the answer. Defense in depth is a strategy uses a series of mechanisms to slow the advancement. Just, one thing with computing is it's applied to our everyday life, right? So I just want you to always relate it to your everyday life. That's one of the best ways of enjoying your study. Perimeter layer is about protecting an organization's resources from network-based attacks. Next. What Microsoft Entra feature can you use to configure security authentication that requires users to use their mobile phone to sign in? So Entra is Microsoft identity solution. It used to be called Azure uh, Active Directory signing, right? They changed it to Entra. So for
So
users
multi-factor authentication.
that, let's look at it again. They say
Okay.
security authentication that requires users to use their mobile phone to sign in. So using their mobile phone to sign
Mobile phone.
in. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So to use their mobile phone to sign in can be used for multi-factor authentication, where maybe the phone number is used for MFA, or you can also use email for MFA. Right. Then you have Microsoft Entra Verified ID. Right. Verified ID means that phone number, that mobile phone has been registered on Azure, on the security platform, on the Entra infrastructure, and the MAC address of that phone is recognized. The MAC address of that phone, I'm thinking it's this. I'm thinking it's this.
But can that be used on the phone?
On
the mobile phone?
You know, because of mobility, accessibility, and mobility, right? Phone access is one of the things that authentication.
Yeah, just to grant, just like another layer
of security, right?
I was thinking multi-factor. Okay.
Why I don't want to think multi-factor is that you can use email for multi-factor. What feature can you use to requires users that requires them to use their mobile phone? So it mandates them to use mobile phone.
Okay.
Can you see it now? So let's go for this.
Yeah.
Well, if I fail it, then it's this.
Because I know, because I don't know if Microsoft Entra Verified ID is on mobile phones. You know, they use the keyword mobile phones. So that's
yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, some of these things, updated knowledge. All right, thank you for that. MFA. Yeah, MFA is what we know by default, but of course, this tried to confuse me. So, well, that's it. It's thank you for that input and for sticking to your guns. Yeah. Do you want me to share? I'm sure we can all still go through this later, so I don't need to share the link. Identity. And identity is something that every organization keeps working at. You have to keep improving on this. The RBAC, zero trust, defense in depth, and conditional access. All of them is here. Which two services are provided by Microsoft Entra? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Okay, who knows this?
Authentication.
Authentication should be there.
Authentication is one.
This one, right? Correct. Next.
So can you just throw a little light on this single sign-on?
Single sign-on means you have registered with
that when your credentials can be used to log into other applications.
Yes, multiple applications.
Okay.
Yes. For example, your email address, right?
Okay.
Your email address, even though it's Google, can be used on Microsoft, on Oracle, or that's single sign-on.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't need a password, right?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Which Microsoft Entra feature can you use to ensure that users can only access Microsoft application from approved client application?
From approved clients.
Oh, it's not this.
Is it conditional access?
It seems to be. It's either this or single sign-on. Because it approved client applications. It's tricky.
It's tricky.
It can either be this or this. Let's quickly let's look at conditional access. Is a tool that uses to allow access to resources based on identities. The denominators include who is the user, where is it, and the device they're requesting from. So conditional access has to do more with devices, the location of the device, and it requires MFA. Oh, approved client application. Okay. So I think this is the answer.
Okay.
It's conditional access. Yeah, based on that.
Okay.
Okay. What can you use to sync identities from an on-premises Active Directory service to Microsoft Entra tenant? This is it, Entra Connect.
Microsoft Connect.
Yeah. Next. What can you use to ensure that users authenticate by using multi-factor authentication when they attempt to sign in from a specific location? Conditional access.
Access. Okay.
We just read it now, right?
Yeah.
Next. Which two-factor affects Azure costs? It's correct. Two. Availability.
Okay. Azure cost.
Date and time. Resource location, resource usage.
Usage.
The second one, zone selection.
Zone selection.
Oh,
No.
Location.
okay.
Using the CPU time.
Resource
Okay.
location. Okay. The closer you are, yeah, I remember now. The closer you are to your resources, the cheaper it is for you. If I'm in UK now and I create a resource in US West, I should expect to pay more because I'll be trying to access that data back and forth. And we
Yes.
talked about network bandwidth. Network bandwidth is not free, even though I'm having access to the cloud, right? Between here and the US, there's a lot of network resource going on back and forth. So, yeah, the location is important. You plan to build a new solution in Azure that will use platform as a service product. What should you use to estimate the monthly cost? It's Azure Advisor. It's Azure Advisor. Oh Lord, my knowledge is still now. I know Azure Advisor. I contemplated this. Oh, interesting. Allows you to estimate and configure according to specific requirements. Okay. Oh. So what is Azure Advisor? Azure Advisor is also it's Azure Advisor here. Okay, TCO calculator. Oh, Azure Advisor is used when you are trying to design or make a choice of which resource to use for what, not in terms of cost.
Okay.
Okay.
You understand? You're trying to design a solution, right? Use Azure Advisor. Let's quickly check it up. Just Advisor. Yeah, there is always a recommendation and score. It's a service that provides best practice recommendation to improve the reliability, performance, cost effectiveness, and security of the Azure resource. You can access Azure recommendations from Azure portal by selecting. I'm going to a specific resource pair and selecting. It's quite tricky, yeah. So, but in this case, it's talking about you plan to build a new solution that will use this monthly cost. Okay, pricing calculator. Okay. Hmm. Pricing calculator. Describe factors that can affect cost. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now we know. You need to associate the cost of resources to different groups within an organization without changing the location of the resource. What do you use here? I think I've mentioned this before too. It was even here. Tags. See it here. The purpose of tags also helps you
Okay.
to manage cost. Yeah. For business operations management, governance and regulatory compliance. How do I manage resource tags? Right. There's even a guidance on how to assign tags. So it's tags. I don't think I'm wrong about it. Yeah, it's tags. So tags is what you use. Like I think I've explained tags before. Okay, let's go to the next. The organization plans to deploy several production virtual machines that will have consistent resource usage throughout the year. What can you use to minimize the cost of the virtual machines without reducing the functionality of the virtual machines?
Maybe monitor alert.
Yes. Alert will only you can set your budget and put your alert. When you exceed that budget, you scale down or something. So we are planning to deploy several production virtual machines that will have, this is the thing, consistent resource usage throughout the year. What can you use to minimize the cost without reducing?
What about spending limits?
I think it's reservation.
Okay.
Reservation, because for Azure, if it's like it's normal business. You go to a supplier of your product and you say, I have guaranteed demand for your product for a full year.
Mhm.
Can you give me a reservation? You understand?
Okay.
Right? So I know there is something called Azure reservation where you go because you already have, what's your estimated usage for the year.
Budget.
So rather than just leaving it as pay as you go, you can just go and say, okay, we want a reservation, and then you'll be placed on a fixed cost based on what you have reserved, right? Yeah,
Okay.
but I hope I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's it.
Correct.
Your reservation offers discounted prices, yeah? Just like normal business transaction where you already know how much you're going to consume for a product.
You're like postpaid.
That's it.
Okay,
Postpaid, yes.
postpaid, yeah.
That's the word.
Okay.
Yeah. So you go and reserve, and so companies do that.
It's like you're paying fixed amount, even if you exceed usage, you use more resources, you pay that fixed amount.
Yes. So, it's good for budgeting and planning. Some of these concepts are good for some of us who do not want to go too technical into this cloud thing, right? But you want to understand the concepts and things you need enough to answer interview questions and show that you have in-depth knowledge of what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You need to recommend a solution for Azure virtual machine deployment. The solution must enforce company standards on virtual machine. What should you include in the recommendation? Intune compliance policy, cost management policy, Azure. I will go for this.
Intune compliance.
Like first one constitution is no.
Yes. Ooh,
No.
okay.
These people are they're so tricky.
The questions are very similar. I mean, the
They're
answers
they're
are
very tricky. Yeah, actually, they want you to think big. Azure policy will allow you to enforce. I've been saying policy, but
Okay, maybe because it's for Azure.
Yeah, no, Intune is also part of what you use for like all this Entra configuration, information access on devices and all of that. But here they are talking about virtual machine. It's deployment they're talking about. Sorry, I didn't think. I mentioned having setting policy at management group level, subscription group level. I have a user who has access at subscription group level. Whatever policy I define at the management group level will affect that user at that subscription level. And so that's how you manage who can do what in Azure. So it's actually this. They didn't give it a thought. But you are permitted to fail even up to 10 questions and you pass, I think.
Okay.
What's the pass mark?
It's I think it's 70%. It's 70, yeah.
Oh, so that's 35 over 50.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, 70%.
that's doable.
It's doable. Very doable.
And what's the cost, sir?
Now, usually Microsoft come up with challenge where you can have access to free voucher. So watch out for challenge, but if not, you have to pay $165 for the exam.
Okay.
I always encourage people to watch out for the voucher. They usually do voucher challenge for like 3 times in a year.
The exam is online, Abi?
It's online. You can do it in your house, in your room.
At any time.
At any time you wish, yeah. Just register it on Microsoft. Then you take it on Pearson Prometric site.
Please, you kindly send the link for this practice assessment.
Okay, I will put it in.
Yes, I think that's the most important thing now. Because if we practice this thing,
okay, so maybe I should just put it in the WhatsApp group, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes more to go. Do we have to finish it, or you guys will just finish it?
No, if you send the link, once it's 10, we can end. We can finish on our own or even go over it.
So you need to ensure that multi-factor MFA is enabled on accounts with right permissions in Azure subscription. What should you implement? Azure policy, resource lock, resource tag, cloud adoption framework. You need to ensure multi-factor is enabled on accounts with right permissions in Azure subscription. It's still Azure policy. Not tags. Not resource lock. It's still Azure policy. Next. What can you use to restrict the deployment of a virtual machine to a specific location? Who knows?
Resource lock.
Azure policy again.
Azure policy.
Policy again.
Yeah.
You will have been
To
so
restrict deployment.
yeah. Yeah. So let me drop this here. Next, which management layer accepts requests from any Azure tool or API and enables you to create, update, and delete resources in an Azure account? The management layer that accepts requests from any Azure tool or API. Remember last week I demonstrated how to log into Azure from my VS Code or API and enables you to create, update, delete resource in Azure. Remember I talked about Azure Resource Manager.
Azure Resource Manager.
Yes. What can you use to create resources in Azure and includes a validation step to ensure all resources are created in a specific order based on dependencies in parallel and idempotent. Idempotent means no matter the condition, it should always be available. You should always get the same result. That's the meaning of it. Idempotent. Yes. So they say, what can you use to create resources in Azure and include a validation step to ensure all resources are created in a specific order based on this? Remember I talked about templates. So this is last week, yeah? So a typical template, let me show you. This is a speech resource. If I do export template, so the code behind, or the code to deploy this resource, if I don't want to create it using click and button here, and I want to create it programmatically, right? This is the code I need to deploy. And the way it starts, it's written from the start to the bottom. It will tell you which resource needs to be deployed before the other, right? In this case, there is no variable. The resources here is a cognitive service. It tells me the API version, the location where the resource is. The SKU is the resource price tag based on Azure pricing structure. The kind of resource is a speech service. Identity is none. I'm not using Entra. I'm not using any Active Directory to manage it. Then the properties is defined here. So all of this information is what this question is talking about. It says a validation step to ensure all resources are created in specific order. So with templates, I can deploy as many resources as all that will happen is my template will just start growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, right? Then we also have the parameter file. This parameter file will always relate. I will take a class around template, but so this is the answer. For repeatable deployment, if you look at it here, you see I can deploy this now. If I want to deploy it, I'll just give it a new name. I'll customize it, edit it. If I say next, it will validate if whatever I've defined in that template is correct. If the validation goes through, I can just create it. So that's what that means. Next. Which two tools can you use to create a new Azure virtual machine from a mobile device that runs Android? Each correct answer presents complete solution. Who knows?
Azure portal and
remember mobile device that runs Android.
Well,
so you remote desktop, you can't do remote desktop on Android. Can you? It's not, you can do remote Chrome session, but you can do, I think you can do SSH on an Android device.
Okay. SSH.
Oh no. PowerShell in Azure PowerShell. I didn't know this. Oh yeah, Chrome. I know Chrome. Oh yeah, you're correct. You're correct.
Because I was thinking that you need the portal now.
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, I think
you need the portal first.
I think I'm tired.
You need the portal.
You're correct. You're very correct. Because an Android device can be a tablet, right? It can be
or my mobile phone.
Or your
and
mobile
I use
phone.
Android.
And you have Chrome.
And I use Android.
Yes.
So we have Chrome.
You can log.
you need the portal to log on.
God almighty. Okay. Good learning point. Okay, I'll allow you guys to finish the rest after this. What provides recommendations to reduce the cost of Azure resources? All right, it should be this time around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you said so before.
I said so before.
Yes.
Should we continue? You have a team of
almost there
that need to manage the resources in Azure. The team wants to use the Bash shell to perform the administration. What should you recommend? Bash goes with CLI.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So they are all, remember AZ? I think I talked about it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You need to be notified when there are new recommendations for reducing Azure cost. Alerts. What tools should you use? Azure Monitor. So Azure Monitor to Azure Monitor. No, new recommendations. You say recommendations.
For reducing Azure cost.
Yeah. This one is for resource performance.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. If your resource is not doing well, Azure Monitor will send you alert.
Okay.
You need to create a custom solution that uses threshold to trigger auto-scaling functionality to scale an app or down to meet your user demand. What should you include in the solution? Application insights. No. You need to create a custom solution that uses threshold to trigger its service. It's monitor.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Okay.
What can you use to automatically detect performance anomalies for web app? Performance anomaly for it's this. This always logs how your web app is performing. Application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Insight.
So any logs for web app, just always trace it. The web app is application insight. Right?
Okay.
What can you use to find information about plant maintenance for Azure services that are critical to your organization? Service health. So if there is any downtime in any part, it's Azure Service Health that will tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. Next, what can you apply to an Azure to ensure users cannot change or delete resources? Lock.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Okay. I hope you passed.
Yes.
It's called 82%.
Ooh.
So
That's
we all
really good.
did very well. And then if you're ready, you just schedule your exam and go and blast it.
So we need to do more practical. More.
Yeah.
What's the time required?
It's 120 minutes. There's usually enough time.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, nice to have worked with you tonight again.
Thank you.
Next week,
Thank you, sir.
next week, I think we will hold it on Sunday because I have a training that's on the 17th. So next week will be on a Sunday. Yeah. Okay. See you guys next week. Take care.
And just notify
Thank you,
the
sir.
group
Take
now.
care.
Yes, I will. Sometimes I wish I had someone to help me manage the group sometime, but that's fine. I will send a notification. All right, Miriam, good night. And,
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, sir.
please take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.